Hi guys, I'm back again today with another video, and today we're checking out moving to the Netherlands, what no one tells you. Before we do start, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell button, and yeah, let's see what no one has told us. Has told us. I think that's correct.
I have to say that it has taken me a while to ponder over this and finally decide to make this video to share my experience. Moving to the Netherlands wasn't a quick decision, and it definitely hasn't been a smooth ride, I have to say. From late 2022, we started toying with the idea of moving to the Netherlands, and we
From
started with researching visas to surviving the Dutch housing crisis, which I was warned about, and
oh,
adjusting to the idea of starting over. And I would say that my first 6 months have been full of surprises. And today, I'm
mm,
sharing everything that I've learned so far, the highs, the lows, and the things that you need to know if you're planning or even considering this country. And I have to say before I begin that I'll be diving more extensively into the housing bits of the relocation because for me, that was our biggest challenge. And if you're new to this channel, my name is Kwame, so let's get into it. Everyone has their reason for wanting to relocate to join family, school, work, better economic prospects, or even culture, and so on. And ours had some layers to it. My partner and I had this agreement that we would explore the different countries that we're both from, living at one place for a period of time, which is Ghana first, and the other place for the next, now the Netherlands. So it's kind of like a balance thing.
mm,
Underneath this agreement was the underlying experiences. If we thought that the change wasn't necessary, we wouldn't move. Or if a change was necessary, then we have to
mm,
start planning and get
mm,
into it. And for my part, I needed a change of scenery or environment to explore my career as a filmmaker. And I thought that the creative scene in Ghana wasn't giving me what I wanted at the rate and speed with which I wanted it. My partner, on the other hand, works in the corporate space and she's an awesome and experienced business developer. So I guess for her, it would be to consider whether or not she had learned enough or achieved enough in the space that she was in and how difficult it would be to find new opportunities elsewhere. So we debated, went back and forth a few months, and decided to go for it.
okay.
We started by doing extensive research, and by extensive, I mean researching everything: the visas, work permits, residency requirements, daycare options for our son, insurance, and of course, the almighty financial load all these things would require from us. The Netherlands offers several options for people who want to relocate. There's the highly sought after, highly skilled migrant visa, school
Mm.
or student visa, family reunification, which was what our immigration needs fell under. And I would say that whatever your reason or route, you can never ask too many questions. Even
Mm.
for us who were not necessarily new to going to the Netherlands, which is something we do or we had been doing back and forth for a few times, a permanent move means something completely different. And after all our research and preparations, we ended up investing in the services of an immigration lawyer through the recommendation of a friend. And this guy was kind enough to explain to us the options available to us and which route meant what, how difficult it would be. So if you can afford it,
Mm.
consider the immigration lawyer approach. For us as a family, it was best to join my partner, who is a Dutch citizen in the Netherlands. All these options have adequate information on the IND website, and you should definitely make that your first port of call with regards to moving. You can find out every information you need. You may actually even not need an immigration lawyer if you can follow the steps yourself. We also considered the cost of living, housing markets, healthcare, whether Netherlands would be a good fit culturally as a mixed cultural family.
I think
We
so.
knew that preparation was the key to avoiding surprises.
I'm just like so confident in that. I've no clue. I've never been, but I feel like from everything that I've seen from different parts of the world, and my brain is kind of like doing a scan. It might not be no place is perfect, but I feel like the Netherlands will be good for a biracial child. Me, I grew up in I grew up in I don't remember the first half, but I grew up here in the Philippines. I grew up in Ghana. So I know how it is in both. countries. Um, I feel like obviously based on my color, I was more accepted in Ghana than I was accepted here. But the thing is, as I grew up, I learned that Philippines is not necessarily racist, but you're more ignorant. So that's what I grew up to learn. And I don't know, I never had like any racism in Ghana because obviously, like, I their color. So there we go. Any kind of like mean situation. I mean, there's always going to be mean children, and I mean, I'm always a fighter, so I did a lot of scrapping back in my days, and when people knew that I fight back, they never came back. I just became friends with them. So yeah, like nobody was mean. It was only here that people were in my little brain were racist, but they're just ignorant. Even old people, they will call you, some words. But that's just how it is here. So yeah.
cultural family. We knew that preparation was the key to avoiding surprises, even though I can almost guarantee you that when it comes to relocation and a place like Netherlands, there will always be surprises.
Oh,
Now let's
interesting.
get to landing in the Netherlands. This was both exciting and overwhelming at the same time. One thing I did not expect was how much paperwork would be involved in just starting your life here. You need to register
Mm.
with the local gemeente or municipality to get your BSN. Now, this number is essential for
It's like your
everything, like your
social
Dutch social
security. Yeah.
security number, from signing your lease to paying your taxes. Without it, you're essentially invisible in the Dutch system. But in order to get your
Mm.
BSN, you need a permanent address, which brings me to the next topic of the housing
Oh.
crisis. Now, here is where it gets tricky. The housing market in the Netherlands is brutal.
Okay, Kwame. I'm sorry, but we'll go back, and also he might touch on this. If not, let me know in the comments. But let's say he's gonna talk about the housing crisis, right? So let's say I don't have a house and I'm staying with a friend or a relative. Can I put their address to get my BSN, or do they have to know where I mean, what if like it's not my permanent address, okay? I'm just staying there for now until I get my place. So what do I do in that circumstance? Do I put that address, or do I wait to get my place and then apply for the BSN? And me waiting, does that affect me in the long run? There's so many questions. So let me know. My comment is gonna be like, Rookie just gets an immigration lawyer. And I'm like, I don't want to immigrate though. I just asking questions. But then the comment is like, I know, but your questions are too much. Okay? Too much.
Here is where it gets tricky. The housing market in the Netherlands is brutal. And if you're coming from Ghana or maybe a place where the process of getting a home, although not a walk in the park necessarily, but it's as easy as when you find a place you like, the landlord doesn't need to profile you or assess your long term financial match and other things
Philippines,
you
yeah.
have, or other list of things you have to tick on the boxes to look good as a potential renter. In the Netherlands, this process goes through the so called housing corporations or websites or,
Mm.
yeah, corporations. And there are a few big ones that offer housing based on how long you've even been subscribed or how lucky you are, like an actual lottery. This means that filling many forms for every house that you are interested in, from income to family structure
Oh my
to the
god,
job of your
really?
partner, they want full transparency,
Oh
and the more,
wow.
the merrier. And because my wife had worked in Ghana for over 5 years, in the Dutch system, it didn't reflect. She had a huge gap in her career. Employers abroad were not registered, so that didn't look good already. Aside that, I didn't have a
Oh.
BSN yet, as we didn't have a permanent address. You see the irony? So technically, I didn't exist in the Dutch system. And all this made us look unattractive to the housing
Mm.
cooperatives. Now, the story is, even though my wife had recently started a job in the Netherlands when we arrived, she had to share at least
If I am the owner of the house, am I the one reading all these profiles? I know I have so many questions. Oh my gosh. Um, It's just I'm so interested. Am I the one reading all these people's profiles, or is there a company that reads it and then tells me, "Hey, rookie, we have Kwame and his family. They don't have. I mean, the wife has a BSN, but she has like space in her career, so we don't know what she was doing those years, and the husband doesn't have. So, do you want to take them on, or do they not even mention you to landlords and landladies?" Because if I was the one who is going through that, because I'm an INFJ, I don't know if people understand, but I'm a feeling type. And usually my personality type is I connect with the person, I don't care about everything else. So it's bad. It's good in its way, but it's a bad personality also because I am more affected by the person's situation and I'm connected through emotions rather than logic. I don't think it through. I just, oh my God, you have a sad story. Yes, you can stay in this house. Right. I'm going to be that type of landlady. So it's not going to be good for me. So that's is a system set up for people like me? Is essentially my question.
Wife had recently started a job in the Netherlands when we arrived. She had to share at least, or you have to share at least 3 payslips, giving us another delay of 3 months because she just started work. Aside that, the competition is
Oh.
insane.
Can we not give the
In the
Ghana
Netherlands,
one?
you're going to jump through all these hoops while vying for this particular housing thing with over 500 people. As at 2023, I think, the average rent for a one-bedroom apartment in Amsterdam was around 1,500 to 1,800 euros per
Oh,
month. But
almost
if you're lucky and you don't mind it, finding something cheaper in smaller cities, it's much easier.
90K.
That's if you even find it. So what we did was we told a lot of our close community here and everyone who had a lead, and in the end, it came from that, a recommendation, which eliminated having to go through the system because left with that alone, we did not look good on paper. Now, a key lesson here is be realistic, be flexible, and be patient because you might end up in a less than ideal location or situation. And
Mm,
it's just part of the process.
mm,
Cost of living in the Netherlands is on the higher side, in my opinion. And I'm not even doing that based on where I come from and doing those exchange conversions. No, just the sheer percentage of the cost of living versus your earnings, which housing will probably be your biggest expense. There are other costs to factor in, like groceries, transportation, healthcare, and utilities. On average, I'd say you need to earn around 2,500 to 3,000 euros a month to live comfortably. Though, also, I would say it depends on your lifestyle. Us, as a
mm.
family of three, and before we settled in properly, arranging all the necessary documents and registrations, rent and daycare costs took the heaviest chunks out of our finances, even though
Oh,
we were adequately prepared with a buffer of savings before moving. Daycare prices are insane.
oh,
If you want
really?
your child to attend daycare for the whole week, then you're looking up to 2,000 and upwards per month. And that 2,000 is
Oh,
even on the affordable side. So for starters, we did 2 days a week with a cost of 1,100 euros per month. But the good thing is, for tax paying or working Dutch citizens, there are perks, which are subsidies from the government to help ease this burden. But without the necessary documentation like your BSN, your permanent
mm.
address, and having work to do, these things become inaccessible to you and you have to be
Oh,
paying all that I just mentioned from your pocket. Groceries, well, groceries can be manageable if you stick to budget stores like Lidl, Natorama, Aldi, and so on. Eating out is something we've learned to do less and less of because it's not cheap. Going to eat in the city center will set you back around 15 to 25 euros per person. Transport in the Netherlands, well, there's cycling. So buying a bike will be one of the best investments you ever make. And
mm-hmm.
unless you have a big budget, I would say also before you buy anything, look on Marktplaats for secondhand. But if you're taking public transport, especially, then your monthly cost can be around 100 to 120 euros per person, depending on how often you have to do intercity commute. And then there's the bit also on insurance, your utilities, and other expenses. If you previously didn't keep an eye on your spending wherever you lived before moving to the Netherlands, then you will be forced to do that or learn that in the Netherlands.
Mm.
On the side of culture shock, I would say by virtue of the fact that we've been coming here since 2017, most of the surface or common ones did not hit me as much because I was mostly aware of them. However, as they say, don't confuse tourism with immigration. And so, with that
Mm.
said, living fully comes with a few things that you notice on a deeper level. One of them is if you're coming to the Netherlands alone, you may have to consider the possibility of the difficulty in finding real or a real community or connections with people. And there are some reasons to that. Breaking into the Dutch friendship bubble can be quite the challenge. Dutch friendship, comfort, and loyalty is built from childhood most of the time, and friends
Oh.
often grow up together, sharing the kind of bond that doesn't make a lot of room for new friendships, especially with foreigners, because there's that aspect of the language and cultural adaptation as
Oh.
well. Another
Gonna be a
reason is the
loner.
culture of efficiency may also have a part to play in this. They are so structured in their ways that it's not very flexible. So if you're looking at from work to making time to be with your friends, adding new commitments becomes a daunting chore for them. Most people
Mm.
speak English, yes, but it's always easier to make conversation in the language you're most comfortable in. I knew a couple of people before moving here. People I knew from Ghana. They live in different cities, and you would think that hey, it's exciting. You're gonna see each other often, and no, time really flies when you have that strong, structured routine. Before you know it,
Mm.
a few months have passed. On the other culture shock was the discovery of an elaborate integration program. I don't know if other European countries do this, but I was pleasantly surprised by
What
it.
does that
One
mean?
has to follow a well curated integration program and plan, customized to your education level and schedules, spread across 3 years,
Oh wow.
which has written exam and other elements like communal participation and so on. At the end of all of this, you have to be fully certified to have completed or to be considered fully integrated.
Oh
6 months
wow.
in, and I'm beginning to understand better when I was told that settling in realistically takes about 2 years. And I would say this that
I
everyone's
didn't know
experience
this.
will be different, of course, but there are certain aspects like, finding a home and arranging your documents that almost everyone will face. Now, while I'm
Mm.
extremely proud and feel very lucky to be in this position at the moment, there's so much to navigate at the beginning of your stay that a year goes by so fast without you realizing it. Then, before you know it, you're using another year to now learn to move from survival or that primal state to beginning to imagine how to thrive. If you're
Mm.
considering moving here or you're just curious about what it's really like, well, I hope you found something useful or some useful insights in this particular video. My
Actually.
name is Kwame, and don't forget to subscribe and like and comment. Share your experiences with me in the comment section, and I'll catch you in the next episode.
Oh, I really like this video. I'm not biased because he's Ghanaian, but maybe I don't know. But I'm not. Um, it's just that I didn't hear this from everyone else, or maybe it wasn't explained to this depth, right? So I didn't think. I thought, oh, tomorrow I can just pack up and then I'll go to the Netherlands and I'll have this beautiful life and period, right? That's what I was thinking, but no, it's not that easy. This video just woke me up and said, hey, it's not going to be easy, but it's doable. But you just have to do this, that, and the third, and there's this, that, and that before you can fully integrate into society. And I'm like, oh, why didn't anyone say this? And when he said, what no one tells you, I was like, oh, like, we've heard a lot of videos. Probably we've heard all the things that you're about to tell us, but I was wrong. And that is what makes this video different. And I feel like it's more informative than the others. I mean, the others were great, but it didn't give us too much depth like this, right? But maybe there's even other videos that will go into more details, right? Let me know. If you've gone through this process when you moved? Let me know down in the comments because this is a great, fascinating story. This is what I want to hear because it will teach you what are the things you need to do before you move to a certain place instead of like me thinking I can just move there and then everything will be all right. And then later be faced with like, what the fudge? Living on the streets because I can find a place to stay, right? Well, yeah. If there's other videos that I want to check out, let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.